So we're here with Christopher Diotis, who is the owner of Happy Hippo, and we're honored to have you on here. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
And I have a number of questions that I want to ask you, but first, it would be great just to get to know a little bit about you. Just to tell us about yourself. Where are you from? What's your background? And then maybe like how you first realized what Kratom was, or what was your first time with Kratom?
Absolutely. Okay, so my name is Christopher Diotis. Happy Hippo is my, this is a big interview. I'm speaking as a private citizen. Obviously, I've used Kratom for a long time. 39 years old, and I did the calculation last night. As of June 2022, it'll be 15 years of Kratom, largely daily. So, if I am the long-term study in my mind. And my background is a combination of weird things that all led me sort of to Kratom. So I was a personal trainer in Los Angeles for a long time. I'm from Washington, D.C., so I'm from the East Coast. I went to college at the University of Florida. And I played hockey growing up. And then I got pretty big into fitness. And I was never trying to be a competitive bodybuilder, but I got really familiar with different dietary supplements. Now, obviously, Kratom is not a dietary supplement, but it's an herbal product. So I was always very open-minded to going down different rabbit holes on the internet and just like being the guinea pig if I thought things were safe. I did a short stint in law school at the University of San Diego, and my real background that kind of led to Happy Hippo was I had a blog online that was pretty popular in the years 2011 and 2012. And I first learned of Kratom after having a really bad knee injury. So I had bulked up to 240 pounds. I had in my mind that I was going to try to walk on the University of Florida football team, even though I played like maybe 2 years of organized football. And I had a really, really bad knee injury. And kind of in the process, we had this silly tackle football game on Memorial Day with friends. I remember when we started in 15 minutes, like playing a for fun game of tackle football. Three of us were going to the hospital, and I was like laying on the ground with my knee shredded.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
it was a bad idea. So I don't know. You play when you were kids when everyone was like 120 pounds, but this was nuts. This was silly. It was nuts. And um, ironically, that is kind of what got me going towards Kratom. I had to have a very major surgery, full rupture of the patellar tendon, MCL, PCL. And I spent the whole summer, and I think it was 2007, rehabbing my knee in physical therapy. And along with it came all the post-surgical meds that you have to take for pain. Um,
Sure.
and I remember after I had mostly recovered and I had this dull pain in my knee, and I was really into fitness, and I'm just like, oh my God, is this my new life with this knee that's like inflamed all the time? And I can't be on this other junk that I've been taking over the summer. So I started researching natural alternatives for physical discomfort for my knee. And this is again 2007. So we're talking, there's no Facebook, there's no YouTube back then. And I think I found it on one of those V Bulletin forums. Forums were really popular back then. And people were talking about it. It was a bit obscure, but you could pay with it over PayPal. And obviously that's kind of changed. There weren't a lot of vendors, but it was this obscure thing. I ordered some from, it was, I think, a kid in his dorm at the University of Pittsburgh who was putting it in Ziploc bags. And I ordered it and I got it. Probably didn't use it for about a week, but then, I don't know, just one night I was like, okay, let's try this stuff out. And I was a hyper responder to it. It did everything that I was told. Not only did it dull the physical discomfort, but I was sharper. I could just tell I was sharper. I was not high. I was not discoordinated, but I had this like, I don't know, really sharp focus and good sense of well-being. And I was like, wow, this stuff is amazing. oh my God, I've just ran into something special. And I was lucky because there's a lot of people who really, really could benefit from Kratom that don't have a good first experience. And then they
Yeah.
write Kratom off. Like, oh yeah, I tried that stuff. It made me nauseous. It didn't do anything. And that stuff doesn't work. And it's a tragedy because there's so many people that can benefit from Kratom that maybe they think it's dangerous, or they do try Kratom, but it's not a good product for them. And they're like, no, that stuff doesn't work for me. And it's like, yes, it does. If you can get your hands on a quality product, um, it can be a game changer, as I'm sure it has been for you.
Oh yeah, it absolutely has been for me. My first experience was it was different than yours, and it came from the anxiety standpoint. And also, I had really mild Tourette's, which I had been trying for years to stop having tics. And like I was in college, so I didn't want to sit in the front of the room when my head is twitching. Like it just made me so self conscious. And it was the first time where I realized, wow, my head isn't twitching, and I'm not trying either. Like it's done, it's gone, and it
That's
was
amazing.
so important for me. I find your experience really interesting because so many people that I talk to who discover kratom are discovering it from maybe a pain or an injury, but they find, oh, it kind of helped with my pain a little bit. But it sounds like you were noticing all these different aspects of kratom, not just the pain reduction, but the clarity, the ability to just feel focused, centered. I mean, that's really interesting that you were receptive to all of these different things that it was doing.
I am definitely a hyper responder to it. So my experience might not be completely typical, but we have a staff of, I think, nearly 40 employees that work for Happy Hippo, and I would say at least 80% of them take Kratom, not necessarily daily, um, but they all respond pretty well. So maybe their experience isn't like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 like it is for me, but I don't know, it's like a 7 out of 10, and it's better than slamming a energy drink full of sugar and, or constant soda consumption or stimulants. Cause like, that's for sure. Like, it is such a good alternative for energetics to caffeine and to some of the dirty stimulants out there, even to coffee. I mean, kratom's similar to coffee, and I drink coffee every day just one time with kratom in the morning. It's like a ritual. But if you can get a high quality product, it's just not it doesn't have that dirty feeling that an energy drink would have.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that going along with that, it's easy transition here to how did you end up with Happy Hippo? How did that come about?
Okay, so you actually made me review this, and I was like, I want to make sure I'm accurate on these dates and everything. So I got into kratom um, about 6 months, 12 months post surgery, 2007. I started writing this blog, and some of it, and I really wanted to tell people about kratom because it was like a self improvement blog, and I was like, I really want to tell people about kratom, but I want to make sure that they use good kratom, and they don't go to the gas station and buy something that is, and have that underwhelming first experience and blame me and say I'm lying and stuff like that. So it's really important.
Yeah.
So I built up a fair amount of readership on my website. And I asked my source, well, I had like three sources. Two of them don't exist today, but I asked all three of them, would you be willing to do like an affiliate deal or something where I refer you the traffic, and I don't know, you give me a commission? And these were all very small family businesses, and they're just from the reasons of, we don't understand what you're talking about, to, honestly, Chris, like, if you think it's going to be like an extra 100 people buying a day, like, we can't keep up with that. And I was like, this stinks because you have the kratom I want to show everybody, but I guess you don't have the infrastructure, or you're not interested, or whatever. So that was a bummer. So I wanted to go look for other affiliate programs, and they were out there with generous commissions, but their kratom wasn't good. So I'm just like, okay, I can't recommend this either. So Happy Hippo was born like out of necessity. Um, to to expose people on their first try to excellent kratom, and also be compensated for it.
Right.
So that's how Hippo was born. And if any one of those other things had worked out, we wouldn't have this business that employs a lot of people and really changes lives. It's so critical for people to have a good first experience with kratom. I just like, because it's like, yeah, if it makes them feel bad, why would they chance taking it again? You know? Um, so I really wanted, the whole point of Hippo is like to make the first kratom experience as good as mine, and for people to say, wow, where's this stuff been all my life? Like that makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, exactly. And I totally relate to the idea of having someone have a good first experience and the difficulty of knowing when they didn't. My best friend in the whole wide world tried kratom a couple years ago and got very nauseous. He had tried it with a number of other things, including kava. He went to this kava bar in North Carolina and had way too much for a first
Mm.
time. All these different things, and it's put him off kratom. So it's kind of it's one of those things. I want to have him on the show and talk about his first experience and try and convince him to try again. But I feel that pull to have someone have a good first experience. On the website, it mentions, of course, that Happy Hippo is a member of AKA's Good Manufacturing Practice Standards Program. What I think as kratom becomes more mainstream, people are looking to the AKA more than ever to know where to get their kratom from. What did it take to become part of that program?
So we were part of the initial group, who did get approved, and we have a close relationship with AKA. We give them money every single month. We put a significant amount towards their World Health Organization initiatives. So we are close with them. So we sort of had like early access, so to speak. But basically, it involved um, getting our stuff together. And to be honest with you, at the time, like we would not have passed, but 3 months with their standards, and we hired an independent FDA auditor, not from the FDA, an independent, just an FDA experienced, with GMP compliance. And
Right.
we did our best. We had her visit the facility. We were, I don't know, 85% of the way. She ran through all the processes, stayed there 3 days, and suggested different improvements. And we did those. And then she was able to come back about a month later. And AKA gave her like a report to run through. And she signed off on us. And we've been AKA GMP certified ever since. So that's how the process worked.
Okay, that's great. I know that it's become one of the most important things, and one of the most often it's one of the most common things I see on forums when it comes to kratom now is where people are always asking, where do you get your kratom? Is this vendor trusted? Is this source good? Is this one not? I think that speaks to the current situation of kratom right now and the way that people think about it, both legislatures and people who use it. That the issue isn't really kratom. The issue is how is it being manufactured? How is it being produced? Who's growing it? And the farmers, and what's the sort of relationship Happy Hippo has with the farmers that they work with?
Well, so we used to import crates. So funny story of how we started importing. When I started Happy Hippo, I had said I had those three little US sources in this country. Two of them have shut down. I don't know why, but they had shut down. So I started ordering, essentially paying retail prices for kilos. And at the time, it was like $300 a kilo. And I was just paying that. So, and we were putting it in our bags and everything like that. Um, because of the blog, we started getting more and more orders, and Kratom's obviously awesome. So a lot of returning customers. So I was ordering more and more from our US, my like personal sources. And we put this big order in, and big order was like 15 kilos or something. It was big for us at the time. And I guess they just didn't want to spend time like individually bagging the kilos. So they literally sent me what their Indonesian source and farmer sent them. And it was wrapped and it had contact information on it. I was like, oh my God, now I have the farmer where this place is getting stuff from. I looked
Wow.
for him and I found him on Facebook. And we stopped paying $300 a kilo and we started importing from Indonesia. Um, And these days, actually starting 2 years ago, we stopped importing from Indonesia. We let another company import the product. They sterilize it for us at 170 degrees, I believe, which is enough to kill off the pathogens but not affect the alkaloid integrity. Um, so we don't actually have a close relationship with the farmers since we go through this middleman who sterilizes the product, and they really know the sources. So we're an exception though, because there's not many companies that, obviously it's way more expensive to have your product pre-sterilized and lab tested and then to do your own lab testing. But we've never been caught up in the whole salmonella thing, thankfully. Um, and I like to think that the paying the extra is worth it. It is, obviously. It keeps people safe. I just don't want to be that company that's like, someone gets sick off our product and it's like, we're those guys that like mess it up. I just don't want to be that.
Yeah, no. Well, it's interesting because I am completely new to where it comes to manufacturing, the whole production process. I had heard about the salmonella scares when they happened, but I didn't understand, how that happens. And so it's interesting. It just even the sanitizing through 170 degrees, like this is new for me. That's really
Yeah.
interesting to learn that. Um, why do you think Happy Hippo is such a widely known and recognized kratom company? Because I only hear good things about your company. Why is that?
That's amazing. And by the way, like if you haven't tried our new stuff, or we released a bunch of new products, but old stuff, please like get in touch after, and like I'd love to hear what you think of our product as compared to other stuff you have. Well, Hippo kind of got off to like a fast start because of my former blog, but it's really like it was really word of mouth that built the company. So, I mean, the pink hippo and all, like the packaging stands out and everything like that, which has been, here's a mouse pad.
Oh, that's
Um,
great.
so that's definitely really helped. But I mean, it sounds cliche, but like the quality of the product, it's more expensive than other companies, like because we do the sterilization and the lab testing and all that kind of stuff. But most of our customers would say you probably have to take about 50%, maybe 70% of Happy Hippo stuff to get the results that you would get from said other generic brand, taking a full amount, meaning like if a customer generally takes 4 grams of another brand, and there's some other very good ones out there, so don't get me wrong. A lot of them are on the internet too. You'd probably have to take about 2 or 2.5 grams of Happy Hippo. So even though Hippo is more expensive, it evens out in the end. I like to believe that. But I would say the branding, one thing I've understood from the start, because I was a Kratom consumer, still am, going on 15 years right now. I know the psyche of the Kratom consumer, especially one who's ordering on the internet. They want to know that they're getting a good product because this stuff can get expensive. They want to know that it's going to ship very quickly. They're going to be hitting tracking number. They're going to be checking their tracking number. Like, because I did this, like when I didn't have a lot of money and like, run out of Kratom here. And like, I really needed to, buzz through a lot of this work. Some customers are like checking their tracking number. So like, I literally know the consumer thought, and we've applied that into a business and hopefully sewn some of those things up. So it's like the good product, the customer service that will not argue with you and you don't like the strain, try this one, no problem. Or, here's a credit if you didn't like that. Just the no hassle customer service. We ship faster than Amazon. Like some orders, if you order in the middle of the day on a weekday, your order will probably go out within like 20 to 60 minutes. So
Wow, that's incredible.
yeah, we try like literally our fulfillment manager sitting in the office just like pushing the button to like refresh the queue. So all that combined, like word of mouth grew the company because we haven't invested much into SEO. I don't know, like it's literally the same stuff I've had for 15 years, and it's variety of everything. It's just everything. It's a whole experience, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a couple more questions for you. The next one's a very easy question. Which type is your, or maybe it's an easy question, maybe it's not. What type is your favorite? And I can tell you right now that from the kratom that I've gotten from Happy Hippo, my favorite is the green Mang Da.
Okay. That is certainly our best seller. And it depends,
Oh,
like,
interesting.
I do really well with the Sumatra strains, particularly like red Sumatra, which is our magic hippo, but I seem to respond really well to those different strains. Um, the one you referenced, the Hyper Hippo Green Mang Da, that is by far our most popular. And I don't know if that's because like everyone's looking for Green Mang Da, so it's like they arrive there and it's really good, or I don't know. Like Green Mang Da seems to be fairly or not like what people consider to be the most elite kratom. But it sort of depends on what I'm doing. Like if I was more active, which I'm unfortunately not, I would definitely be using like the Mang Das, but usually I'm like sitting in a chair all day, like answering emails. So some of those, like we call them slower strains, are really good. So I like the Sumatras. Which others have you tried?
Oh goodness. I've tried and I don't remember the names like the specific names that you guys give them, but I've tried Red Sumatra, I think. I've tried the diamond or the Malay one, the mix of Malay, the green Mang Da, your white Mang Da, and um what's the last actually, why am I trying to remember it? I've got it right here.
Yeah, you
Um
get the Thunder Hippo.
White Dragon.
Okay, that one's pretty new. That one's good. Like the accolades on that are like they definitely vary from like the normal strains, and I get like a newbie effect off that. We call it like a newbie hug, where maybe you have tolerance to kratom, but you get a new strain that just really responds well to, and it's like you're a newbie all over again.
That's what I got with the Green Mang Da when I tried
Oh,
your
really?
Green Mang Da for the first time. I got the newbie hug for sure. I think I did an episode on it and freaked out over it for about 20 minutes on this podcast. But nothing like nerding out over kratom. The last question or two I have for you. You in our correspondence before this episode, you were telling me over email that one thing that you think is helpful to get out there is how to tell people about kratom and how it, not everybody even knows about it, and some
Yeah,
people are unsure. Can you go through what you use to get across what kratom is to people?
absolutely. I was like trying to estimate last night how many people I've introduced kratom to. Um, it's I'd be surprised if it wasn't like a 500,000 or more between online and just like everyone I run into. Like I'm that guy who's like talking about kratom all the time. I'm sure you are too on the East Coast. So
Yeah.
Uber drivers, servers at restaurants. I think a lot of members of Congress here in Idaho have tried Happy Hippo, and a lot of them like it a lot. So literally, I'm telling everyone about it and carrying samples all over the place. But to introduce it, I've refined, it's literally almost a script at this point, which it doesn't make it disingenuous. I'm just trying to get this stuff out there. This is safe, this is
Yeah.
safe and stuff. So I'll ask people the course of conversation, have you ever heard of kratom? And I would say only about 5% of people say yes. Um,
Wow.
Depends on the age demographic, I suppose, but 95 is either no or maybe. And so going off that, when someone says no or maybe, I said, well, have you heard of CBD? And that almost always is a yes.
Mm.
And I say basically, well, kratom is like CBD, but it's just like 10 times better. And oh, okay. I said, kratom is what CBD was supposed to be. And they're like, okay. And then I just go over my history of using it for nearly 15 years. And I swear by it. And most people are asking by the end, like, oh, where can I like get this stuff? And I'd be like, don't go into a store, don't buy any. Here's some samples. And by that time, they've probably realized they've like this was like planned or something. But most people
Yeah.
really end up liking it, and they send me an email, I give them a business card. They're just like, "Whoa, you weren't kidding! This stuff like makes life a lot easier." So I definitely kind of use the CBD bridge to tell people about Kratom. And that's ultimately where I see one of your questions was, where do I see Kratom going and where would you like to
Yeah.
see it go? I want to see it follow CBD because just 5 years ago in Idaho, people were getting arrested for THC, CBD. Recently there was that national incident where the Idaho State Police pulled over a truck that was headed to San Diego from a different state that was carrying hemp. Now I think that got resolved, but that was a huge thing. People were put in prison for carrying hemp over Idaho state lines, which is compliant with the federal farm bill, but any amount of THC in Idaho, Schedule 1 controlled substance. So we have very draconian laws here in Idaho, but CBD's come a long way. They used to arrest people 5 years ago, and now there's CBD shops every, I don't know, 1 to 3 blocks in the commercial zones here. So I really
Wow.
think Kratom is going to follow CBD. And there's probably going to be a combination of companies that really put it out there to the mainstream. Charlotte's Web was the one that came to mind with CBD, but yeah, that's sort of where I see Kratom going. That's where I'd like to see it go. I think we're, I don't know, 3 years off from that, so it's not like next year. But it'll be significant if during this legislative session, some of these states that have bans on it fall. I think that's a catalyst for it. Obviously, the World Health Organization's non-resolution on Kratom was promising, and I think drug policy in this country in general is like, it's being looked at in a different way. It's like, my God, things have changed, and it's just the winds. It's not one political party or the other, even though they have their, I guess, preferences within. But Kratom is too good. It's too safe. It's too effective. It can help too many people. Who the general zeitgeist out there is, pharma is hurting people. Like even my dad, who turned 90 this year, like is a pharma skeptic. So it's like Kratom has. I feel as long as we can keep it for the next like 12, 18 months, like we're going to be good, and this is going to get in a lot of people's hands and improve lives. So where do you see it going? Obviously, you've thought on the question.
Well, I've thought about it for a lot. I'm up in the air about exactly how it will take form, but what I see happening is with this recent non-decision from the World Health Organization, I think that all I see when I look at different states right now, when it comes to any discussion about Kratom, is they always bring up opioids. Is this like an opioid or isn't it? Like the discussion always boils down to that. And it just goes to show, in my mind, what's happening in everyone's mind who has any sort of power right now is they're panicking because they've most people who've been elected by now, when they were elected, the opioid crisis was starting or it was already going, and now it's been going for 15 years more, maybe. And I think that they're running out of options because it's just as bad as it was 15 years ago, or it's worse. It's even worse. So I think that although there's this worry that Kratom is too much like an opioid, there's more and more proof showing that it's not. And as that proof comes to light, I think that people are going to start opening up a bit more to new options that involve Kratom because, like I said the other day in another episode, Vermont is considering safe injection sites, but they have Kratom listed as an
Yeah.
illegal schedule and substance. And it's like, but there's a bill that's being considered that would make that not true and would make Kratom legal. And I think that it wouldn't be a far step for Vermont to start considering Kratom as an alternative and to insert that into a program that's to help people with opioid addiction. So I feel like one of the main things that will happen in the future is that people will become more open to using Kratom as an option and a tool because they've been using methadone and Suboxone for 10 years and it hasn't helped the crisis. So
Right.
I'm hoping that people will open up their hearts a little bit to this new potential tool, but I don't know. I'm optimistic though.
I am too. Especially, that's like bizarre. Like Vermont sitting there on Schedule 1 here in Idaho, that I don't know, they arrest you for CBD, like Kratom's legal. So it's made no sense at all. Bernie was a big, Bernie knows that Bernie Sanders, obviously he's not involved in the state level, but he knows what Kratom is. He signed on to Orrin Hatch's bill and everything like that at the time. Were you around in 2016 September when the DEA put out their intent to schedule? Were you part of the Kratom community then?
I was just becoming part of the Kratom community, and that's what got me hyped up about it.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing, like just the agencies who fear Kratom and this is so terrible, like they just made it like super popular, so and then didn't ban it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And at the time, you know, I
I,
wasn't,
I
I was, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. The signal. Go for it. Yeah, sorry.
Nothing like Zoom. I was just going to say that when the DEA was proposing that, I hadn't been, you know, an active proponent of Kratom, although it had been helping me a lot up to that point. I'd been using it for 4 years, and but I didn't consider myself part of like a necessarily like a part of a community. And that kind of brought me into it and thinking, oh wow, I'm part of a community because my brother at that point was very addicted to heroin. And I, you know, the past 4 years before that, I was like, no matter what happens in this life, I'm never going to try something like that. I'm never going to do a drug that's bad. And I'm hoping he can get out of it. And I'm lucky that I found Kratom. And then the DEA is saying we're going to emergency ban Kratom because it's like heroin. And I was like, no, it's not. There's no way it is. And that's what really got me energized.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that is, like, you know, my mom was in federal law enforcement, the U.S. Marshal Service, and not at the time, and the Marshals have nothing to do with Kratom really, but giving the DEA the benefit of the doubt, I don't think they really knew like what Kratom was. Well, they shouldn't be trying to ban something if they don't know what it is. The following it had in its safety track record, hence the removal for the intent to schedule. But now, after that whole incident, everyone knows that Kratom is safe and not harmful as long as it's really Kratom and it's not adulterated with these other things. So I feel like any attempt to ban it right now, like, shouldn't be because of ignorance. It's like it's literally corruption. I don't know. That's kind of like where I arrive on it. But people were definitely panicking at that time. 2016 Hippo wasn't all that. It was still pretty big, but it wasn't. I mean, we had like, I don't know, still just a small family business at the time, and people were freaking out. And I remember I was saying, like, if this goes through, we lose our business. But a lot of these people are going to lose their lives because, like, their lives are going to get without Kratom. It's literally the thin green line for them between destruction or being bedridden or being an addict. That safety net's going to be removed. So the panic there was like nothing I'd ever seen. And luckily, we were able to organize quick enough to direct a lot of that panic at Congress and the DEA itself, President Obama at the time. And the first time in history, the DEA removed an intent to schedule and said, my bad, please don't contact our office about this.
Oh my God. Yeah, please just look the other way. Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing. You know, I only have one other question for you. Do you are you right now like for Happy Hippo, what's the next step? Are you going to keep doing what you're doing? Are you trying to scale up? Are you happy where you are? What's the plan?
Well, for the longest time, talking from a business perspective, I wanted to be under the radar. We did no advertising. You can't really do advertising online, but other companies find ways around it. You're essentially violating terms of service at places, but I guess you can't advertise. SEO, there's a big fight online. We really don't put a lot of time into that. It's really the word of mouth. But as I've seen the winds change in this country and really believe Kratom is going to kind of follow CBD, um, we like we're putting on the gas because I know how much safe Kratom can help people. And I really think this is going to be a mainstream product, and we'd like to be one of the companies that really, like, again, back to like getting good Kratom into people's hands the first time. That's our goal, but on like a bigger level. There's still definitely risks. The payment processing is You know, that's gotten a little better, but you used to have to use Chinese banks. We had a bank in Ghana that basically stole money from us. Two banks in
Wow.
China, Madagascar. It- you know, it's very discouraging when you fulfill all those orders and then at the end of the month you're running a loss because you don't get paid. I see that all getting better, and then eventually Kratom following CBD, and maybe one day it'll be on Amazon. I don't know. And then Amazon will do their generic brand, which won't be very good. And people will try that and then think Kratom sucks. But I don't know. It's we we want to introduce Kratom to more people than ever right now, for sure.
Well, that's awesome to hear. I know I'll continue to be a supporter of Happy Hippo and will ignore the Amazon basics whenever that's first introduced.
Yeah.
but Chris Yotis, thank you so much for joining us. It's just been a pleasure to have you. I'm really lucky to
Yeah.
have you on the show.
No, thank you. And I appreciate the work you're doing. Honestly, it's very thoughtful. And, the truth is on our side, like I always say. And it's just a matter of getting it out there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Chris Yotis, owner of Happy Hippo. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.